What a great time to be a Giant, be a fan of the Giants.
Like, we have something going here. We're building something special, and you can see it from the outside and inside. It's even more beautiful.
Reflecting on everything that got me here, just to see that uniform, and I watched. That's the team I watched the most growing up because my dad was a Giants fan. So
once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of All In with Art Stapleton, a New York Giants podcast brought to you by NorthJersey.com and The Record. I'm your host, Art Stapleton. It is Thursday of game week. The Giants are 2-8, heading down to Washington and the palace that is FedEx Field. Insert sarcasm here. And the Giants are 9.5-point underdogs now. It started at 10 to a team that they last beat. That was their second win. They beat Washington here at MetLife. Remember those days when the Giants actually competed and won a football game? Well, it is now November. It is heading into the week before Thanksgiving, and the New York Giants are again in a free fall towards, they're falling upward. They are now, according to Tankathon, number 2 in the 2024 NFL draft standings. So Drake May of North Carolina, Caleb Williams of USC, one of you may be coming on down to the Big Apple and suiting up for the New York Giants. On today's show, I caught up with Andrew Thomas at his locker. And boy, did anybody expect Andrew Thomas to be back in that game in Dallas. Really, one of the highlights of that game is just the example that Andrew Thomas set by coming back into the game after getting rolled up on. And I asked him about that, why he did what he did, why he came back on the field. And yes, there is a debate whether or not he should come back into that game and risk further injury and put himself in that position. What are you gaining? You're a star left tackle. You're an all-pro. Why would you come back into that game? Well, I asked Andrew that, so you can hear that. Also, it's always fun. I'm going to have a column on NorthJersey.com on Friday, reliving the Chase Young Bowl, which should now be renamed the Andrew Thomas Bowl. Washington and the Giants 4 years ago. What that meant. And I think the timing is also important because the Giants are in what some people want to be tank mode. The idea of lose as many games as possible and give yourself the best chance at getting one of the 2 quarterbacks in this draft. Not everybody, not all Giants fans, but a lot of them. And in my mind, it's if you have a chance to get a franchise quarterback, you do it and you worry about next year. So as I talked with Jordan Reed of ESPN last week, that's the priority right now for the Giants. You make the best move you can for your franchise after the season. We'll see where they're at. You're not going to overcompromise and hurt yourselves on the field and hurt those chances, but you're not going to tank either. And there's a fine line between them, and teams walk it all the time in the NFL. And until they change it and make it a lottery system, you're going to deal with that. And I think that's an interesting overarching storyline going into this weekend and really for the remainder of the season for the Giants is that you want to win games to be able to maintain your program, maintain your success, but also you want to have the best chance at getting the premier player that's going to change your franchise. And that Chase Young Bowl, any Giants fan in that situation was not happy to be 4th rather than 2nd. Daniel Jones throws 5 touchdown passes, including the one in overtime to Caden Smith. The Giants win that game. And afterwards it was, well, the Giants won the game, but Washington won the draft pick. And they ended up with Chase Young. 2 weeks ago, Washington traded Chase Young to San Francisco. And Andrew Thomas is signed through 2029 with the New York Giants. Regardless of what Thomas's injuries were this year, with the hamstring, and then obviously now he has the knee sprain that he's playing through. Andrew Thomas is a cornerstone for the New York Giants, and Chase Young is in San Francisco. Just something to keep in mind going into this weekend. I know it's different with a quarterback, but I hope you're going to enjoy the interview with Andrew, and then obviously my column off of that coming Friday morning on NorthJersey.com. So without further ado, here's Andrew Thomas. I know, Sunday when we were up top seeing the view and seeing you go off, I don't know if there was anybody who saw that who thought you'd be coming back in. I asked Kafka what that says about you as a player, and he threw praise at you and said just your toughness. When you're going off, are you ever thinking, I'm coming back into this game?
Well, when it first happened, anytime you get rolled up, it's just like a vulnerable position, so you're just kind of scared. You don't know exactly what's happening. But once we went to the tent and they, checked to make sure like the ligaments were fine, and I didn't have any, even before I went inside to do the x-ray, I told Ronnie I'll be fine to go, but he just wanted to make sure I got my x-ray. But you can feel pretty quickly if you can go or not. And it was sore, but we just put the brace on, and obviously the adrenaline from the game and stuff like that. So just fighting to get back in.
Nobody ever questions you, especially after week one, after you played through what you played through.
Yeah.
Is there ever any part of you, or is that just the way you're made, that, if you can go, you're going?
That's always been my mindset when it came to football. My old coaches and my parents always tell me, even back to Little League, I would be hurt and I'll stay in the game and hobbling, whatever it is. If I can go, I'm gonna try to go. I don't want to put the team at a disadvantage, but if I can do my job, even I'm not 100%, I'm gonna go.
I asked Pugh last week about being on the line with you for the first time. He said that you remind him you weren't any other left tackle that he's played with, because you treat the game like a center. You're making calls, you're telling everybody. Is that kind of been your evolution to the point now where, you really are the leader of this line, whether it's off the field, but especially on the field, to be able to kind of bring everybody along?
Honestly, my mindset has always been to see the whole picture. I started that back in college with Sam Pittman. He did a good job, teaching us the whole picture, not just understanding what your job is, but understanding the scheme, because when you play with your eyes, it gives you a better chance at, predicting, what guys might do and put yourself in a better position. But I think from a vocal standpoint, doing more communicating and just, whatever my thoughts are about certain plays or different looks, how I see it, just communicating it, and I think that helps the whole line.
You made the point a couple weeks ago, and we kind of ran with that, the idea that, in a lost season, or people would perceive as a lost season, you as a rookie grew the most probably and made the difference in your development. Do you think back to that and how you were able to grow despite everything else that was going on around you?
I don't really think about it much, but I think I have the same approach that I had, then that I had last year. We made the playoffs, and that I have. Obviously, I've been hurt a lot this season, but still the same approach. Every opportunity I have, it's an opportunity to get better. You got film out there where you're studying an opponent, getting ready for them. So it's an opportunity to work your craft and see how it performs on Sunday.
It's kind of funny. I know you weren't involved in it, but 4 years ago they had the game down in Washington that became the whole Chase Young Bowl, and whoever won would get to move up. You end up here. 4 years later, you guys were supposed to be the battle twice a year. Now he's out in San Francisco. Is it weird for you to look at that scenario and the idea of how that played? And, were you aware of everything that was being talked about back when you were a rookie and, you guys matching up?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know till after the fact, because I didn't watch much, NFL football like that. I didn't know, with all the picks and all that stuff like that, I was just focused on, putting the best film at Georgia. But after the fact, I heard about that stuff and really didn't pay too much attention to it. If anything, I would have liked to have, more matchups with Chase Young, because he was a great player. We always talk, because, I've struggled with some injuries. He had injuries. So after the game, we always talk, just seeing how we're doing, and we want both of us to succeed. And you know, when you play against good players like that, that brings your level of competition. And so, you know, wish him the best where he's at, and you know, obviously unfortunate situations where he had to, you know, move on and to another team, but he's gonna be a really good player.
In terms of, you know, down the stretch for you personally, do you view these games? I mean, obviously the record is what it is,
Yeah.
but what does Andrew Thomas have to prove for the remainder of the season?
Well, I think the first thing, and you know, some of the stuff is unavoidable when it comes to the injuries, but I just want to, you know, be on the field. Like, you work so hard in the off season, you only get a few opportunities, and I missed, you know, over half of them. So it's like, I just want to be on the field, be able to, you know, play, because I worked hard to be here. You know, I think the average career is like 3 years in the league. So
Right.
every time, you know, you get an opportunity, you want to be out there and play with your teammates. And then two, just trying to build a winning culture. Obviously, things are not where we wanted to be right now, but we can just continue to build the culture that we want just by doing things the right way, preparing the right way, and getting everybody on the same page. Because I mean, you see who the true leaders are, and the people that really, you know, want football and love football when you're in times of adversity. Because it's easy for everybody to buy in when you're losing, but when it's not going when you're winning, but when you're losing, you see who really, you know, loves the game.
You know, it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this, all the talk now about draft picks for next year and where you guys finish and that kind of thing, and it's brought me back to you, the idea of, you know, just because you think you should be in a certain spot and you might get a better player, here you are, you know, in the spot that nobody wanted at that point.
Right.
And I think it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
With going to this weekend, knowing that Tommy is back under center, what's that been like for you? You've played with veterans who've been here. You played with Tyrod, who's been in this league a long time. What's it like with Tommy? Give me a sense in that huddle, and how much do you guys try to lift him up a little bit, knowing that he's facing, you know what it's like to be a rookie in this league, a first-round rookie.
I think he's done a great job handling it. Obviously, you know, before he was just, you know, doing like the practice reps and stuff like that, that's tough, you know what I'm saying, not getting really any, you know, good on good reps and then being thrown into the fire. But I think he's done a great job with the QB coach and the other quarterbacks that are injured, you know, and the ones that are here, just helping him out with the system. He's picking it up, and I think what allows him to play is just his confidence. You can tell he has a swagger about it. He's a rookie, but that's not how he approaches the situation. He's trying to score, trying to win. So we're going to do our best to, you know, keep him upright and let him do his thing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, really appreciate it. So my thanks to Andrew Thomas for joining me in the locker room on Thursday after practice. You know, he's working through it, and there's a very good chance that the Giants have the same offensive line in back-to-back weeks for the first time, I think, for this season, which is hard to believe. But you know what? When you're 2-8, it's probably not hard to believe. So heading into this weekend, we'll have a pregame, game day preview, and then we'll have a postgame pod on Sunday from FedEx. Again, it's kind of moving the goalposts here, trying to figure out what appeals to you guys. I think we're going to still do a lot of stuff on the draft and looking ahead, but also there's still games to be played, so it's important for things to be able to deal with, you know, the future of Brian Dable and Joe Shane and where this program is headed. I know there's a lot of reports out there. I just will remind you that there are always reports and things always change. My take is that Joe Shane and Brian Dable deserve to be back for at least another year. This is something that they're building here, this continuity. The timeline is reset a little bit, and if they end up with a new quarterback, that would certainly matter in terms of where that timeline is. These are the guys you want in place offensively to be able to work with a young quarterback. Tommy DeVito is not the face of tanking, so please stop with that. I think it's very unfair to DeVito, who's an undrafted rookie, who has really come a long way since the spring and earned a shot here to show that he can play in this league as a backup and as somebody who can be serviceable in the right system. not a starter in this league. But at this point, look, as bad as the Giants have been at the position this year, Tommy DeVito is tied for the team lead in touchdown passes and tied with Daniel Jones with 1 touchdown run. Think about that. So at this point, let's see where DeVito goes. Do I expect Tyrod Taylor to be back at quarterback at some point this year? Yes. After the bye, I think Tyrod will take over. I think Tommy DeVito will be back as the backup, as it should be for the remainder of the season. And then you see where that goes for the rest of the year. But that's where we're at. Washington and the Giants on Sunday. Certainly not a marquee game of the weekend. But as always, we are all in. We appreciate you being all in too. Hope you enjoyed the interview with Andrew Thomas, and we'll catch up with you over the weekend.